time to give your opinion on the Bills and the NFL. Let's talk football live. Now, here's the 13 Wham Sports Team.
Tremaine Edmunds back on the field. The Bills' middle linebacker back to practice these last couple of days. He's in that red non-contact jersey. Tremaine Edmunds has been limited, but looking like an encouraging sign for Sunday. Matt Milano, the Bills' other linebacker, has not practiced. John Brown was a surprise addition to the Bills' injury report. He was back to practice. We'll get into him in a little bit, but first I want to introduce Mike Catalana. Of course, I'm Jenna Cottrell. The Bills 1-0 after week 1. I know a lot of people excited at the start of the season. Josh Allen had 3 total touchdowns, 2 fumbles in the game against the Jets. And we want to jump right in because this has been a lightning rod topic of Josh Allen, him running the ball. Does he run it too much? Does he run it enough? Well, I don't know if anyone thinks that. But, Mike, I want to hear your opinion because this is what Josh Allen is. He is a dynamic quarterback. He has the ability to throw and then that ability as well to run. And I want to hear from you. Are we making too much of a deal about Josh running?
No, because I think it's an internal discussion with the team, too. We talked to Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, about it, and he was like, look, Josh is a weapon, and they put him in a position to make those decisions. And I think the one thing I think fans need to understand about the run plays, they're all different. There are times Josh is back to throw, and there's nobody open, or he doesn't see a guy open, and he takes off. Okay, there would be more scramble runs. Then there are times when it's a called run where right off the snap, Josh is taken off following behind the line. And then there's the run pass options, the RPOs, where he is at a lot of times, you'll see him. He's putting the ball in the running back's gut. And that is Josh Allen's call at that moment to say, I'm going to keep it, I'm going to hand it off. So there's a lot in his hands. 14 carries is a lot.
That is a lot.
But I think I'm not going to say that's the norm, but I'd be stunned if there are games that he doesn't carry the ball at least 7, 8, 9 times.
I think I'm fine with the 7 or 8. The career high, it was a career high of having 14 carries. I thought, to me, the fumbles were also a piece of it, but just the amount of times that Josh was running. Look, we know like that is a strong point, like you talked about, Mike, and we also know that Brian Daboll is calling these run pass options, and at the end of the day, it is Josh's call. And Brian Daboll said, I trust Josh in that decision making. But I think a lot of people are questioning, okay, is it too much? But we also want to make a point of this show is all about you as well, the viewer. We want to hear from you on Facebook. We have a couple comments rolling in. Donnell Evans saying, good evening, Mike and Jenna. Happy football weekend, week 2. Watching from Rochester, Donnell, we say hi to you. Suzanne saying, I think the Bills will win, and we will get into our picks in a little bit. But make sure to send in all of your comments and questions as we head into week 2.
And Tracy Victor, I believe, watching from Naples, Florida.
Look at that,
Down
Tracy.
in Naples.
Will she be at the game?
Yeah, let us know, Tracy. You're going to be at the game. I think it's going to be tough for Bills fans to get tickets. Robert Gallagher says, go Fins. Look, there are a lot of Miami fans in Rochester, and that dates back into the 70s when the Bills were atrocious and the Dolphins were the team, you know, with Don Shula and Bob Greasy back then, and then it extended to Dan Marino. So we do know we have Dolphins fans, and it was a huge rivalry for many years. So we'll see how it goes. But in terms of the whole Josh Allen thing, Jenna, I think this is going to be a debate all the time. And I think if you're the Bills, you look at him as a weapon, and you do have to find that mix. Now, he also threw the ball over 40 times in the game Sunday. The Bills had the ball for 40 minutes against the Jets. So they had an extended amount of plays, and Josh Allen is effective running the ball. And so they did it. But what did he do? He fumbled the ball twice.
The fumbling, the 2 fumbles. And we talked to him this week over Zoom, and he said ball security is going to be a focus going forward. But we actually took a poll, Mike Catalana throwing the poll out there. And this was what's interesting to me. Mike asking, tonight's topic, Josh Allen running the ball. What do you think the Bills QB with the ball on the move? Vote and reply. This is the closest poll I think we have ever had.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't get much closer than that. I mean, it's basically 50-50, right? Too many run calls or just run, Josh, run. But I do think it's a debate. And look, I do think there is part of it with Josh that it opens up the passing game for him.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you something. When the Dolphins are sitting there, Brian Flores and company trying to game plan for Sunday, they just had Cam Newton run all over them in the first game. If there's a quarterback in this league that Josh Allen is like, it is Cam Newton. Cam's a little bigger, not much.
Yeah.
Josh may be a little faster, not much, but they are both extremely effective running the football. And Cam has always been really good at it, so he did it against the Dolphins. You better believe they're expecting the Bills to do that against the Dolphins.
When you see it work literally the week before as well, I mean, it makes sense. And when you talk about the fact that, yeah, Josh Allen has been compared to Cam Newton since coming out. I mean, the big, tall, strong-armed quarterback, to see Cam Newton go and beat the Dolphins down, or actually it was in New England. But still, we do also have some comments, though, because, again, this was quite the polarizing topic. I love it. So Zach Sheridan, really in-depth response here, saying these results are amazing. People must really want to see Matt Barkley as QB1. J.A. will take off when he needs to, and mixing in the occasional design runs for him is fine. But if it was overboard Sunday, I think he will get injured. But it was overboard Sunday, and I think he will get injured running at this rate in the league. I think that's a pretty reasonable response.
It's another thing that I asked Brian Daboll, and I said, where are you more worried about him getting hurt? Running the ball or standing in the pocket?
Yeah.
Now, that's somewhat of a simplistic question, only because, you know, they don't want him to get hurt anywhere.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has been hurt running against the Patriots when he got the concussion.
Yeah.
He's been hurt in the pocket against Houston.
And
that's happened to him before. So he can get hurt either way. But I do think some of this goes on Josh Allen. He's got to be a little smarter.
Yeah.
Got to be a little smarter with the ball.
And I think, to me, it kind of goes back to when Josh, last year, we saw him throw a lot of interceptions. He was kind of making those moves where you're thinking, Josh, what is your decision making in terms of throwing the ball, trying to fit it into windows that were not open, or trying to overexert himself. So I'm curious to see, and we talked about it on our Buffalo Plus podcast. Mike had the analogy for the golfers out there, you'd rather have a hook than a slice. What does that mean?
If you ever take golf lessons and you're just starting to play, she's actually not bad.
I'm not bad.
A golf teacher will tell you it's much easier to fix a hook, where for a right-hander, you're hitting it left, because that's a better swing.
Yeah.
And to take that back, than it is to fix a slice. Because a lot of us have slices, you know, where the ball just gets away from you, it goes right, and it doesn't help you. So you'll see teachers say it's easier to fix. And I think that part is easier to fix with a guy like Josh.
Yeah.
Because he is aggressive, and that's the way he plays.
How much do you think him, especially on those run-pass option plays, him taking the ball, is him being that gamer?
It is. I do think, you know, part of that is Daboll says he's got to read the play. Look, we don't see all the tape. We don't know all the things that go on. But I will say I was in the press box for the game Sunday, and on several of those plays, it is literally coming right at us, and we're up above. So it is the one time where you've got a really good view, and it certainly appeared that there were times Devin Singletary should have gotten the ball. And then Josh kept it, and he ran and took a hit, maybe gained a few yards. But the Bills' running game wasn't particularly effective. I do think there are times when they're going to say to Josh, hey, let's get the ball in Singletary and Moss's hands a little more.
I was going to say, you bring up a great point, because we had a question on here. It disappeared, but the fact that will the Bills look to get the running game going?
I think they need to. And this would be a good time to do that. The Jets are known as a pretty good run defense. I know Tracy, who, by the way, also said it's easy to get tickets. Now, there's only 13,000 fans down in Miami, so I don't know if it's that easy to get them this week. But, you know, saying it's the first real game because of the Jets. You know, we'll see how that goes. I mean, the Jets are a pretty good run defense normally, and they did want to take that away. So what do? You use Josh Allen to take advantage of that, right? Those fake handoffs, and he takes off. Obviously, they had the bootleg play for the touchdown, and he walked in the end zone. But even, you know, Tom Brady can run that play. I mean, this is Josh Allen. You're talking about him running between the tackles sometimes. You're talking about him taking hits. So we had some other comments, too, on it, right?
I mean, there's been plenty of comments.
So this one from Deb. The conversation is old, and no point to it. Running is part of his game, period. Deb, I'm with you. Running is part of his game, but this is going to be a conversation all year long.
This is going to be a conversation with Josh Allen, with his career, because people talk about the ability for there to be injuries when you're outside of the pocket, when you're running the ball.
Who did I just mention? Cam Newton. How many years has he been in the league? It's still a conversation with Cam Newton.
Literally, and people are like, well, he's finally healthy. It's like, well, is that because he was running the ball so much? He was putting himself on the field as a runner. There is one more comment as well that we do want to get to. Brendan McDaniel saying, can we add option 3 Run, Josh, run, but slide or run out of bounds to avoid contact. That is a huge point of emphasis, just because I feel like we do see Josh, when he does run the ball, that hesitation or that urge to try and get as many yards out of it as he can, right? I mean,
he knows it. I mean, Michael Vick was this way. Now, Josh Allen is not, no one, well, maybe Lamar Jackson runs like Michael Vick.
Yeah.
But Michael Vick never really learned how to slide, and he took some big hits when they didn't even protect quarterbacks as well. And I think that hurt his career. I think he's got to learn how to do that. And I think they're talking to Josh, saying, you know what, first game of the year, second quarter, 2nd and 7, you know, slide. He doesn't have that mentality.
Yeah.
And you, in theory, you like that in your quarterback.
Absolutely, because I think it shows that gamer, but also at the same point, it's the short term versus long term. In short term, is 1 yard going to help you? Yeah, sure, but long term, if you're putting yourself in a position to get injured or have the ball get
knocked
out. And
and let's face it, his 2 turnovers, it's sloppiness. And Sean McDermott loves this. What was his answer? What's the problem? Fundamentals.
Yep.
No one loves to talk about fundamentals more than the coach.
Yeah.
He has fun. He does love it. But what is it, the 7 points of pressure, right? Isn't that for how they carry the ball?
Yeah.
Josh, the ball is loose. It's off of his arm. It got knocked out one time. And then I did kind of get a kick out of his answer about, well, you know, the second time I was upside down when the ball... Hey, Josh, that's
just
part of the problem.
Yeah.
Don't go upside down.
Exactly.
I wanted to read a comment. Kevin says, I know there was no preseason games, but Josh did miss wide open receivers, including one in the end zone. That was another
there were multiple.
Twice. He missed
Dawson Knox as well.
And this was a game when he was, what, 33 out of 46?
Yeah, I mean, and those 300 passing yards plus 312.
Yeah.
I think, to me, as much as you want to see your quarterback hit a wide open target in the end zone, for me, we saw a progression out of Josh of him seeming to be more comfortable, having a little bit of that poise that we haven't seen. But yeah, obviously there's some plays that he would like back, and Josh himself has admitted that.
Yeah. It was something, though, because he was so accurate. They did a lot of short passes on Sunday. I think they may try to air it out a little bit. I mean, but he's got Diggs and Brown, and those guys, they run great routes.
Yeah.
They get open. And he was finding them, and he was sort of taking what the Jets were giving him.
Yeah.
And we'll see how the Dolphins adjust. They may press a little bit more. They have good corners. Let's see if they go over the top a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll get into John Brown and the caliber of receiver that his teammates think that he is in a little bit. But we also have, you know, another fan position as well coming up.
Yeah. At this point, I think we can talk about our sponsor. Right?
Yeah.
Connors and Ferris. We're very happy that they're our sponsor. Greg Connors loves the NFL, loves the Bills, been a big sponsor. So we get a chance to talk to him every week about what he thinks about the Bills. And I talked to him today, and his answer was he loved what he saw out of the offense. He loved how they moved the ball. But his concern this week is on the other side of the ball. Not the play of the defense, but maybe who might get to play.
You know, the big thing for me, the concern I have going into week 2 was in that second half, Tremaine Edmonds going down. Watching him go down really kind of makes your heart go pitter patter, because you wonder, he's such an interesting and such an integral part of that defense. And then with Matt Milano going down with the hamstring injury, I'm sure you remember last year, the week I think they played the Dolphins, Milano was out with an injury, and the Dolphins ran all over him. I'm looking at the Bills putting up at least 28 points, and the Dolphins get held to about 14. So I'm going with the Bills 28-14, and we're going to bring it home so we can be 2-0 going into the Rams next week.
And we'll have our picks in a little bit as well. But I know there's a lot of optimism, obviously, for Bills fans.
No, I was just going to say about those injuries. You know, we showed you at the beginning, Edmonds. I think that's going to be game time. I think that's going to be one of those things that plays out.
Yeah.
They have a lot of options with the roster, with the practice squad, and guys they can bring up and down, and all the different things that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott can do. I'm not very confident in Milano playing this week.
No, I mean, he has not practiced this week. He wasn't even out on the field.
Yeah.
I was at practice yesterday. He was not even on the sidelines, which is never an encouraging sign. Now, I will say the good thing is that Tremaine Edmonds, again, wearing that red non-contact jersey, he was limited in practice, which is definitely at least an encouraging sign, the fact that he was out there. Again, probably more of a game-time decision. But there was someone who was surprisingly added to the injury report on Wednesday, and that was John Brown. Coach McDermott said he's not going to be at practice. He's dealing with a foot injury. A little concerning, but Brown back to practice today. He was a full participant. And you talk about someone that, was a dynamic part of this offense a year ago, but I think just the comfort level that he has with Josh Allen and a guy like Stephon Diggs, the words that he said after the game, John Brown had a touchdown on Sunday. I think he had 6 catches, around 70 yards. Stephon Diggs had a team-high 8 catches, 86 yards. Like, the two of them, Josh Allen was saying, they're like a one. It's not wide receiver 1 and 2. It's just 2 number 1 wide receivers. And listen to what Stephon Diggs says about what Brown adds to this Bills offense.
I think, in my opinion, John Brown is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. He's underappreciated as well. He does a lot of things extremely well. He plays on the outside, can play on the inside. He has great hands, great routes. And it's just like it's fun to play with guys like that because it's hard to double, it's hard to do all that, and it gives the ability there for everybody to eat.
Everybody to eat. I love that phrase. Such a football guy.
I've been really impressed with Diggs, though, not just as a player. Obviously, when you watch him, and we've seen him at practice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's highly competitive.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he's a real team guy. I think he's embraced that in Buffalo. And I think he's thought of as a bit of a leader. The guys were talking about how, man, when he comes in the huddle, I think was it Mitch Morse who was talking about it?
I mean,
his energy, he's talking.
He is constantly talking.
I think he's the Trey White of the offense.
I really like that because I think he expects out of a lot of his other receivers, but he also is the one bringing the energy, pumping guys up.
And you've noticed the way he is with the other players, too.
In particular, now, I think Stephon Diggs goes out of his way to be talking with every receiver in particular, but Gabriel Davis, the relationship, Gabriel Davis is always around Stephon Diggs. They were having a dance-off on Wednesday at practice, which I know sounds silly, but at the same point, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs said that their chemistry on the field started by playing Call of Duty. So it's things like that where it's those little moments that I think are hugely important, especially for a rookie like Davis. Coming in this offseason has been so strange, but to have a guy like Stephon Diggs to just be able to bounce ideas off of and have that guidance is tremendously huge. But I do want to get into some comments as well because Mike had one earlier that was great. It was asking, should the Bills re-sign Stephen Hauschka? Obviously, Tyler Bass struggled, was shaky in his rookie debut on Sunday. He missed 2 field goals out of 4. Was not exactly the most confidence-instilling performance I can imagine.
I described it, and I put something on Buffalo Plus this week and said, I think he's going to get a mulligan. I'm going back to golf again. He's going to get an extra shot at this. For week 1, it didn't hurt the Bills. They won the game comfortably. It would have been more comfortable if he made his field goals.
Yes.
Our friend Sal Majorana at the Democrat and Chronicle wrote something about Stephen Hauschka. In his entire career, has only missed 8 field goals less than 40 yards.
Wow.
And, Bass missed 2 of them. So he's 1/4 of the way there. Basically half of a game into his career. You just can't do that. And I think that puts him on alert. So the way I would describe it is if he struggles in week 2, there will be kickers coming in. If they haven't already, usually on Tuesdays, it's harder to get players in because of COVID, to the timing. But they will have somebody in. And it doesn't mean also they couldn't sign somebody, put them on the practice squad, put them on the extended roster and get them ready to go too. So I don't think they're going to have a ton of patience, but they love what he can bring to them. Yeah. But look, the one people are still arguing, was it good or not good? I mean, it shouldn't even really be that close from that short.
Yes.
It's an extra point.
Yes.
And then he missed the second one. He did make the real chip shot at the end. But they're going to need more out of him. I don't know if they would bring Stephen Hauschka back. I know the Titans were looking at Hauschka.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if any other team would sign him. But there's a reason they were trying to replace Hauschka. They want the leg. They want the distance. let's see how the kid does this week, or otherwise, I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to have a long leash for him.
I mean, I think especially with this season and the fact that the expectations are so high for this team, yeah, you got to be able to put as many points on the board. And look, he's a rookie. I think they're going to ride with it for, like Mike said, it was a rough first showing. But if things don't straighten themselves out, then I could absolutely see them figuring out, okay, what direction are we going to go in? Because there needs to be a direction taken.
Yeah.
But I will say I do love the fact that the Bills going down to Miami. They're going to be in South Beach. They're going to be reunited with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. We saw Fitz at the Super Bowl.
We did.
Yeah,
we
right
did.
when we were walking in, because Jenna and I were down in Miami right before all this stuff started. Fitz was there with his sons going to watch the game. He is something. I said to you today, I think he's had the most unique career in the NFL of any player. And I can't think of anybody like Fitz, who's played on so many teams, is one of the most popular players in the entire NFL. And he's had real success. And then when he's bad, he's really bad. But teams keep putting him out there because I think he has the right thing. Now, look, Tua Tagovailoa is going to eventually take over. He's not on the injury list this week. Heck, we could see him on Sunday. But Fitz is Fitz, and when he gets going, he can be really good.
And he can be very good. He's very hot and cold, and last week he was cold, which makes you wonder if he will be hot. And Trey White brought up a great point when we talked to him yesterday, the fact that, Ryan Fitzpatrick was able to average over 300 passing yards against them last year when they played. And Trey White, listen to him as he talks about the challenge, honestly, that will be ahead in Fitz.
Every time we played against him, he's given us fits. The first game against Miami, it came down into the wire. Then last year when we went to Miami, he threw for over 300 yards. And so I think that we got to play team total defense, and we're going to have to run to the ball. It's nothing that he hadn't seen. He pretty much knows what you're going to be in, so it's just going to have to come down to execution.
That execution.
Yeah, I heard Fitz today. In fact, we're going to run something tonight with him where he said something, I think, if you understand the way this guy is, he said, after the game I played last week, it's hard to walk in that locker room.
Yeah.
He goes, I walk in there, and they have a pretty young team, and he knows he played poorly against New England. And if you remember, obviously, New England trying to get him back, because Fitz is the one who knocked them out of that top two spots in the playoffs last year, beating them in Foxborough. But he did play poorly, threw interceptions, didn't play well, and he's like, I have to guard against this week of trying to do too much and going in the game. The Bills are a better team. The Dolphins may have Devontae Parker back. He's been banged up. We'll see. But Ryan Fitzpatrick has done it before. He's done it to the Bills. He's done it when he was with the Jets, against the Bills.
Yeah.
And then the Bills have gotten him back. That's Fitz's life in the NFL. So he certainly makes it an interesting matchup since he's played on the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Everybody except the evil empire.
It is funny, too, because we talked to Sean McDermott over Zoom, and he called Fitz incredibly super talented. Gotta love that.
He is talented.
No, he is talented, but it's just funny because we also know that Sean McDermott loves to respect his opponents and not give them any type of, motivation, bulletin board material for Sundays. But when you look at the career that Ryan Fitzpatrick has, obviously, he's floated around the league because he can play, but at the same point, he's not as consistent, which again makes you wonder, okay, heading into Sunday, how will he play considering, last week was not a great show.
But the Bills could be short, a couple of linebackers.
Yeah, that's
Things
true
could
too.
be different. So, Fitz has shown the ability to move the ball against a Sean McDermott defense and to score points. And if it wasn't for Trey White in that game last year, they may have beaten the Bills in Orchard Park.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be fun to see how he does against them.
I want to get your pick for Sunday.
I like the Bills in this one. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring. I think last week they should have scored 40 against the Jets. I've got him get him 30. I think Fitz will give them Fitz, as we say. He will. That's what he does. And they'll make some plays. But I think the Bills overall are the better team. I think Sean McDermott is 5-1 in his time with the Bills against Miami. So even when Ryan Fitzpatrick's been pretty good, I think the Bills will come through. I think they'll get the running game going a little bit too, and they will hit one deep ball in this game.
Ooh.
I'm going to say to John Brown.
John
How about
Brown?
that? John Brown gets
I
a
could see
deep ball.
that.
down in Miami, and he'll do his Canes dance in the end zone.
Okay.
Because he's
I would
a Cane.
like to see
he's
that.
the University of Miami.
That's true. I think my bold prediction for this game will be that Stephon Diggs gets his first Bills touchdown.
There
We're
we
gonna
go.
with that. But I also, in terms of my pick, I'm also going with Buffalo. I just think that after last week's showing, the fact that this Bills team, Josh Allen is 3-1 against the Dolphins. This team has only continued to add weapons. Like Mike said, I think they're going to establish the run and do a better job of that this week. And I also think I have the score being 30-17 just because I think with Matt Milano most likely being out, Tremaine Edmonds not really sure of his status, I think that the Dolphins will be able to put up some points, but the Bills should run away with this one. And look, I mean, I think that this has been a nice way to introduce the Bills to the season. They didn't have those preseason games. They faced off against the Jets, obviously. They have another divisional opponent and another team that while they're rebuilding, they at least know their familiarity. How much does that help? I
think it helps. I mean, Brian Flores was with New England all those years. I think he's a really good coach. I think they're trying to get that figured out down there. They have a lot of draft picks. They traded a guy like Minka Fitzpatrick, who I think would have been great for him, but they've got 2 excellent corners. They signed Byron Jones from the Cowboys. So they've got talent on that team.
They do.
I just don't think they're there in total yet. But at any given week, and there is, we all talk about overreacting to week 1. I mean, the Bills dominated the Jets, could have won by more. Miami gets knocked down, but it's week 2. And I think Miami will feel a lot better being at home with a shot. So I wouldn't expect him to lay down in this game. I think it's going to be a close one.
With fans as well. There'll be about 13,000 fans allowed into the stadium at Hard Rock Stadium. I don't think that will have...
I think it adds a little energy to the building.
Okay.
It was weird last week. I don't think it's a negative to the Bills. Usually there's about 13,000 Bills fans at a game in Miami.
Yeah.
Maybe more sometimes, depending on what it is, because especially when they play later in the year and everybody gets to fly down there and go. I don't know the whole process down in Miami of how fans got tickets. Could they turn around and sell them? If you're a Bills fan, can you get the tickets? Because it is a limited amount. But the game last week was I told you, it was weird. It was the strangest game I've ever been to. No fans. And the broadcast of the TV is, not bad, and it adds some of that sound. But in the actual stadium, there was hardly any. Yeah. And it was strange. When someone caught a pass, even the touchdowns, you only really heard the 2 sidelines. At least in this game, there'll be actual fans there. In whatever the reaction is. Yeah. And I saw Nashville just added, the Titans will have 7,000 fans. The Bills are there in October. I still think there's a shot that we have fans in Orchard Park at some point this year. I'm hoping that's the case for fans. I think it'll be a limited number, but we'll have to wait to see.
No, I actually agree. But I think it will add energy. But it was funny. I think of Sean McDermott before the season started talking about how it was ridiculous, the fact that there wasn't going to be a standard NFL fan policy. Now, when he was asked about it this week, he walked it back.
Yeah, he did. That's what he does.
That's what he does, yeah.
But he also doesn't want to, now it's an actual game. Now you're down there. Now he doesn't want his team saying, we're going to lose the game because there's 13,000 Dolphins fans.
That is not... He could have said, I still think it's ridiculous.
No, he's not going to say that. He doesn't want that headline again.
He wanted the headline the first time.
Yeah, he did, which is not like him. Yeah.
We are all 1-0. Dan is not here tonight. He is on assignment, but we are all 1-0 after last week. We are all picking the Bills once again. Dan's score, 38-20. Take a look.
He bet the over.
I was going to say, he absolutely did. He thinks that this Bills offense is going to come alive on Sunday. It should be quite the interesting game, and make sure for all your post-game coverage or just coverage leading up to the week. I mean, we have stuff on BuffaloPlus.com. We have a YouTube page, Buffalo Plus. We also have a podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, it's also called Buffalo
Yeah,
Plus.
we try to keep it nice and simple. It's easy for us to remember, but if people aren't aware, there's certain things you can't name after an individual team.
Yes.
So Buffalo Plus, we thought worked out pretty well. So that's what we call it. Look for that. We appreciate everybody who's subscribed so far, and there is tons of content.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Make
sure to check it out.
Yep.
We thank you so much for watching. We'll be back here on Facebook Live next Thursday, once again at 7 o'clock. Thanks very much for joining us. For Mike Catalana, and I'm Jenna Cottrell. We'll see you next week.